坦克方队气势磅礴，领队是李明少将。22辆9
years of a nation's history rolling past the military might of China on.
So normally when there's some story or there's some a story about China, how they've grown in power and authority and prosperity, people here on the continent are always asking, okay, when will it be Africa's time? Right now there is the 70th anniversary of the founding of the Chinese Communist Party. And there's all types of scenes of them showing their might, their economic and military might. And people are on the continent asking, when will it be Africa's time? When will we rise? And the answer is simple. There will never be Africa time. We will never rise. That's the point. There will never be a time for Africa to rise. Africa will never rise. It's as simple as that. At least not with the mentality that we have right now. So with the present mentality, there will never be a Africa time, or there will never be an African rising moment. Never. The mentality is just all wrong. And now some of you may be thinking, oh yeah, it's about corruption. This is a video about corruption. It's not. Okay, there's a lot of societies that can develop and they're corrupt. This is not about corruption. This is about another mentality, another viewpoint that is extremely widespread, that I believe hinders the advancement of Africa. And this is the belief that Africa can rise in collaboration with the West. That Africa can rise in friendship with the West. Okay, so because most people want Africa to rise, but if you probe their mentality, their mind frame, they imagine this Africa rising to be this continent that is very developed, economically, maybe even militarily strong, but they imagine that process is happening in friendship or while still maintaining so-called friendship with the West. And that's I believe, is the downfall of so many people. That can never happen. Okay, so here's the facts. I can't think of any non-white country that has serious development, serious advancement, and the West was happy about it. And the West was happy. I can't think of any non-white country that you can say this country developed rapidly, and the West was very happy about that. All of the non-white countries that I know of developed in spite of the West, not because of, in spite of the West. Okay, the belief that the West would like a non-white country to develop to the point where it can compete with it commercially or militarily is just, to me, stupid. So unless Africans, people on the continent, abandon that dream of, okay, we want to get to China's position, but we want to do it without the hatred that West has toward China, or the animosity no, it doesn't work like that, my friends. So when you're watching China show off its power, the marching soldiers, female soldiers, and the tanks and the missiles, and you say, man, one day Africa needs to be like that. Then if you just need to probe your own belief system and say, do you really imagine it done in this type of close collaboration with the West? And if you imagine that, then it's your viewpoint that is holding back Africa. A lot of people don't even know the history of China. China went a generation without speaking to the United States. They had no contact at all. President Nixon of the United States met with the Chinese leadership in 1972. When he met, that was the ending of 25 years of not communicating, of extreme hostility. 25 years. So then you, if you're on the continent, say, are you willing to go 25 years with no communication with the West? You need to think about that. Okay, because the thing is, Africa can get to China's point. Or Africa can continue to try to keep this so-called friendship with the West. But you can't do both. Okay? Those Asian economies, and most of the time when we're talking about these societies that rapidly develop, we're talking about Asia, had two things that has been denied African countries. One, state-directed development. And two, protectionism. I'm not going to even use any fancy word. Protection. I'm going to use the brutal old school word. Protectionism. They had state-directed development and they had protectionism. Those are two things that the West have refused Africa through the IMF and through the World Bank. So to get on the path of China or Vietnam or even Japan, it means you disobeying the IMF, disobeying the World Bank, creating animosity with the Western governments. Are you willing to do it? And that's the question. If you're willing to take the hate, take the smoke, then it's fine. But unfortunately, there's too many of us who have that pipe dream that, oh, we can get to China's position, but we're going to do it in collaboration with the West. It's not going to happen. It's never been done. Now, there's a little asterisk. There were some Western leaders who were happy to see South Korea advance. And the reason why, they wanted a industrialized, successful capitalist economy on the mainland. Now remember, Japan has been industrialized and successful for a long time. But they wanted a country was industrialized and prosperous on the mainland as a bulwark against the spread of communism. So through the 70s and 80s and 90s, the West made it easy for South Korea to borrow money to do what? To do what? State-directed industrial development. State-directed. Okay. How did China rise? State-directed development. That means the people in the capital say, okay, we don't have toothbrushes. You go make toothbrushes. That's what I mean by state-directed. Okay, now we're making toothbrushes. Stop the toothbrushes from outside from coming into the country. That's what I mean by protectionism. If you're not willing to do those two things, which will trigger the hatred of the West. And see, at the end of the day, why did you believe that the West considers Africa to be friends? I mean, so this whole belief, oh, we want to maintain our friendship with the West. Can you show me this friendship? I don't see it. So even that belief, or we don't want to lose our friendship with the West, it's like people are living in fantasies. So enjoy the show of China's might and power, and yes, consider dreams of Africa rising. But if you're doing that, you need to come to the realization that you can't do it with this so-called friendship with the West.